Good morning, Mr. Director.
Morning, Chris.
Sorry, my English accent is not exactly great. Please understand me.
Sure.
If it's with real pleasure that I speak with your about your company. The planting is which want to bring new blood to the development of Africa. Thank you for this moment of exchange that you grant use.
Thank you.
First question, what is the overall vision of Printing SR to find a beach of choice in Africa?
So it's always been our mandate and our interest as an organization based in South Africa to have an establishment across the African continent because we believe that the value that we add and we create here in South Africa must be shared equally with our African counterparts in the greater African continent. We more specifically add great value in regards to training and development. We believe that the world is consistently evolving, and in that evolution, we have resources that we've got available to ourselves here in South Africa, which we believe we can take that and create value and empower our fellow African counterparts across the African continent. So we have done some work in Africa previously, more specifically in countries like Botswana, where we've assisted learners who work on machinery in the African continent in the printing and packaging fraternity. We've allowed for their learners to come to South Africa, gain knowledge, experience, and more specifically, practical and theoretical knowledge and experience, and get assessed and tested and go back into the African continent and be qualified and add that value that they need to add. And we're looking for that to add a lot more value in the future, where we will partner with organizations in the African continent and operate on a satellite basis to ensure that we all have equal opportunities in the African continent insofar as training is concerned, consulting expertise are concerned, and perhaps even services that we can offer from the South African market into the African market.
What place do you give to women in your company in Africa?
So, if we talk specifically in the South African context and for Printing South Africa specifically, we have about 70% of our staff or workforce comprising of women. So, we have women in leadership positions, insofar as our head of finance is a woman. We have one of our regional managers that is a woman. And we have a lot of our people in the training and development department as well that is dominated by women in Printing SA. We obviously do have 30% of our staff which are men, but we find that we create a lot of value or we derive a lot of value from women in Printing SA. So we've gone and just to give you a bit of context into how we've moved from one phase to transform to where we are. If we looked at Printing SA about 8 to 10 years ago, we were completely male dominated. When I say male dominated, we were an organization that had about 90% of males employed in the organization. If we fast forward 10 years later, we flip the narrative. We've got 70% of women employed and 30% of men. So we really are pushing the agenda of allowing women and breaking that barrier for women to come into the organization and really add value to who we are and what we do.
Okay. How many percent of your young people are in your company?
Good question. I mean, if you look at me, I'm one of those youths that the company does employ. And as a means of transformation, I'm only 33, turning 34 years old, and now I'm the managing director of Printing SA. And that shows you the transformation that we've been through as well, to add a fresh perspective and a fresh context to how we operate as Printing SA. About 40% of our staff in Printing SA are youth, and some of the latest youth that we've onboarded in Printing SA is an admitted attorney. So he's a person who sits in our legal department in Printing SA. He's only 29 years old, and he provides legal support to all of the printing industry members that we do have as part of Printing SA. Some of the things that we do for our youth is that we offer them opportunities for learning and development. So we will allow them to further their studies, their tertiary studies in this particular specialization, so they can grow and become more prolific professionals. We also do offer them opportunities to take the lead role in projects that we would hold. So, for example, in the Women in Print series, we've allowed youth from our organization to sit along some of our more senior and seasoned personnel, so that they can learn, what is being done, how it's being done, how we're empowering others, so that in the future, in 2 to 3 years' time, they would take the lead in that particular function. So those are some of the examples that we can highlight of how we employ youth and how we develop our youth.
Going beyond your expectation, 22.5, no, 22.4. I say going beyond your expectation in 2024. Across the continent is among the objective you have set for yourself. Do you have the necessary means?
Yeah, so resources are always a challenge. Whilst we do have resources in one respect, we might have resource deficiencies in other respects. But like I said in my opening statement, it's always been our intention to provide services, provide our assistance to the African continent. One way in which we're doing it is that we want to create awareness of Printing SA in the African continent insofar as what we do, how we do it. And another means of it is that recently we've been approached by one of the African countries who says they want to spend time with Printing SA at our offices, in our operations, to understand what we do, so that they can go back to their country and that they can implement some of the things we do as a benchmarking exercise by coming here. And also we can collaborate going forward. So whilst we don't have as much resources as we would like to, whatever we do have, we will provide support to the African continent to ensure that we are developing and assisting in whichever way we can. And in that vein as well, we also believe that the African continent does things that can help us. And that collaboration between the African continent or continental countries and Printing SA is important, because we need to help each other.
Okay. So far, your company is less known in Central Africa. Is this a managerial problem?
Previously, yes, it used to be a managerial problem where we never really focused on what we can do in the African continent to assist. But I can profoundly say that has now become the past for us, and something that we're now looking forward to doing, and we are aware of it, putting some effort into collaborating with the African continent.
What is the strategy that you plan to implement to encourage more people in the Democratic Republic of Congo?
I think one of the strategies is exactly this. I mean, communication is one of the key things. I mean, we highlighted earlier that not much of Africa knows about Printing SA. And I think a first step to starting off is firstly finding the right communication channels, understanding how we can start communicating with our African counterparts, And once we start communicating and build relationships, I think the next step is to build relationships. And after we start building relationships, we find mutually beneficial points or common points where we can all contribute to each other and then start building from there. Like we said earlier, we don't have all of the resources, but once we start to understand through our communication what the needs are, the core needs are, then we start building in strategies and building in proper implementation plans that will plug in the gaps that we do find.
Allez, thank you very much for being willing to answer the question of radio and television 50 from Kinshasa.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate the time.
Bye.